Okay, this is European, Civil War, Battle Royale, whatever it's called. Part 2, in the last video we had the sides being made and then a few things being cleaned up, but nothing major happened, and now we will have major stuff happening. So first thing that happens is just a war breaks out. There's nothing really, there's no, many sides, so there's not many wars that could break out. There's just a war between the two sides. And the aggressor in this war is the blue team, who realizes they have to act quickly in order to cut off parts of the red team and focus on one front. So they do leave some areas rather undefended. For example, they make it they leave the border in the Balkans. It gets defended and all, but not that much. So, yeah, basically Russian forces look to push into Ukraine and hopefully take the country out, forming a connection with the Balkan territories. Yeah, that would be ideal for them. They like to form a connection, and then from there they could invade Turkey. So Turkish forces are kind of very surrounded. They were just invading Armenia, so the Balkan forces are ordered to, however, defend their border. In the meantime, they could still get help from the West, who, once again, both sides have realized that they should play a defensive game, as neither of them really want to invade either one, as those are all very powerful nations. So the main fight is in the east, and that fight starts with the war in Ukraine. Yeah, so I'm gonna have a map next to me so I'll know where major cities and mountains and all that is. So the strategy is to cut through here and cut Ukraine off. So they start with that. Russian forces, starting in Belarus, begin a push down, and they are eventually met at the Ukrainian city of Lviv, which is a major city. It's been talked about, but eventually Russian forces are on the outskirts of the city, so they look to go around, which goes rather successfully. They make it to this area and then start pushing in. However, a minor problem arises when they look to invade into the mountain, is that there's mountains, so they are able to surround the what's it called? They're able to surround the city after hard fighting because the mountains are undefended, and eventually the city does fall, leaving to the army of Western Ukraine falling. Like, the whole army just surrenders, causing a connection to be established between Russia and its Balkan territories. From there, the rest of Ukraine, while still being strong, falls after Crimea and the Donbass region. Kherson then falls to a Russian invasion, followed by Kyiv, leaving Ukraine the blue team. Now, with Russian forces in the Balkans, they are now able to take advantage of that, and Greek and Russian forces look to invade Thrace. This is obviously not going to be easy, as it's probably well defended, and Istanbul is there, which is notably a hard city to invade. But so far, the invasion's going pretty good. We're gonna take a quick break, though, and go on to some red team advances. I know Kaliningrad is well defended, however, it was a major thorn in the red team, so they spent a lot and were able to take it over, Polish and Lithuanian forces. Once again, nothing is going on in the west. However, in the Balkans, the red team was able to capture Bosnia and Montenegro, due to the fact that those nations, they're not weak, but they're weak and the Balkans, Russian forces weren't able to rescue it fast enough. With that, rebels in Kosovo joined the Red Team due to the fact Kosovo is on the same team as Serbia. You know what, I don't even care. Oh wait, no, it wasn't. Rebels in Kosovo, Albania, and North Macedonia all succumbed to a Red Team being able to kind of just walk in. So as big as now a spearhead is established, however, the problem with the spearhead is that is possible, which is attempted. Forces from Russia quickly withdraw from the Turkish campaign in hopes of marching into Croatia, which they do until they have met the city of Zagreb, which is the capital of of Croatia. And at the Battle of Zagreb, both sides fight hard, and it's just a game of numbers. However, many Red Team forces, which were just in this area, have made it to Zagreb by this point, and they are able to not let the city fall, and they're actually able to push back the Blue Team. With this embarrassing defeat, the Red Team then takes the fact that they are retreating troops and invades into Serbia. And Serbia falls to the Red Team. So due to the fact that they thought they could cut it off, they have just lost a bunch of valuable land. With many forces there, however, they agree, or they don't agree, they just decide, forces then heavily guard this border as they really don't want any breakthroughs connecting Turkey with the Balkans. So instead, the Iraqis fund Kurdistan rebels in both their own country and Turkey, causing Kurdistan to fall to the Blue Team. From there, we have Armenia, once again, people being welcomed as liberators. Iran, I don't really know why they're in this war. Well, now they're not. We have forces from Russia's Caucasus crossing into Georgia and Azerbaijan. And finally, an invasion into Anatolia is hard, but with eastern Anatolia being captured, we have Ankara being threatened, and same with Izmir. Actually, Izmir is much further in, but Ankara is threatened. Turkey, this is a powerful country they're dealing with, however, it's nothing compared to the Russian and Middle Eastern forces, as well as many of their forces still being in Istanbul, and due to the fact that all bridges were just blown up in Istanbul, and I guess the Çanakkale Bridge right there, new bridge, the forces in Istanbul are surrounded, and they can't really get to Anatolia, so Ankara falls, Izmir falls, until eventually the two sides meet for the siege of Istanbul, and the city does eventually, for one of the few times the city does surrender. And just like that, Istanbul is now under Christian hands for the first time in a long time. This was all done very quickly and successfully, as if it wasn't, the Red Team would have been able to rescue them. But they weren't. So now we have the Red Team. Basically, we have we have them invading Greece. North Macedonia decides, I'm annoyed at Greece, and they convince the Red Team to invade Greece. Would a small country like North Macedonia have the power to do that? No, but I don't care. Quickly, North Macedonian forces work to invade near Thessaloniki, or something like that. I believe it's Greece's second largest city, which eventually falls, causing the tail to be cut off, which then surrenders, as there's not much it could do. And from there, the rest of the country eventually falls. And the Greek government actually flees to Crete. So just like that, Greece and Turkey have switched sides. Greece used to be blue, Turkey used to be red, but now they've switched. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Once again, the blue team decides to make another crucial move, this time, once again, to cut off these forces in the Balkans. However, their new plan is to get Western Europe involved, so they have France and Italy secretly send a ton of troops. However, this border is still defended, or really just this border. They have a ton of troops to defend that area. However, Spain, Italy, France all send a ton of troops to the Balkans in hopes of cutting it off. So Italian troops push into Slovenia. I'm not really quite sure if Slovenia has many large cities or where its capital is. I don't really care either. Oh, never mind, it's Ljubljana, which eventually just falls. Slovenia is a weak country, and a bunch of Balkan forces are still down here. However, they're starting to make their way up to Hungary, and by the time Budapest is reached, we have many forces from the red team, from both the north in Germany and Poland and even the UK. They've started to reach Budapest, as well as many blue team forces from Western Europe, Russia, Ukraine, Turkey. This is where they've met up, and the stage is set for a huge battle, which is Battle of the Danube River, where basically red team forces have set up, it's technically the Battle of Budapest, which is still controlled by the red team. However, the Danubian basin is still controlled by the red team, and basically they need to, the stage is set for a huge, pivotal battle in this war. Battle of Budapest. Whoever wins will have the other side running and cut off. Many forces from the Balkans are in Budapest. Many forces from the entire, both sides basically have their entire army in Budapest, looking to help the war, whether it's coming from the west, from Italy, or the east. And yeah, the city is bound to see some fighting, so let's show it. Budapest is here. Right there will be Budapest, and forces from the blue team are both on this side and on this side. However, the red team is once again all over here and all over here, and the blue team is all over here and all over here. Great. So we have forces from the blue team hoping to push and capture the city, which is not going to be easy. The city is on this side of the river, so that's the side where they decide to make a major push, and this push goes pretty successfully. They don't quite reach the suburbs of the city, however they reach nearby cities. The force from the west, however, with basically all the armies, the forces look to make a surrounding effort. the fighting stays in Budapest as the red team severely defends the city. They really know how important it is and don't want to lose it. Red team forces launch a surprise counter. It isn't really a full invasion, it's more a spearhead towards Budapest. And once again, the problem with spearheads are that they're easily surroundable. The spearhead actually does reach the cities and is even able to capture Budapest airport, which is only about 10 miles out of the city. However, the red team takes advantage of the fact that it is a spearhead and is able to cut it off, leaving a huge number, millions, tens of millions probably, realistically, considering we have all the forces from France, Italy, Russia, Turkey, tens of millions of forces, maybe, probably not, but whatever, millions of forces surrounded, and it's not looking good, and the red team looks to just slowly push back. Budapest retakes their airport, and with many red forces now focused on there, a surprise attack is launched. Boom. Surprise, surprise, surprise. The blue team manages to push those Hungarians all the way back to the river. All the way. The Danube River has now been the entire Danubian basin is now controlled, the entire West Basin is now controlled by, the river is yet to be crossed, however the basin is controlled by the blue team, which is big as now they have reached the border with Serbia. Yeah. However, the red team is able to make advances this way, and they do manage to cut off the blue team, and they do encircle, causing all these troops to surrender. However, a huge force now in the west on the Danubian River now looks to invade, and yeah, they basically look to cross the river, which isn't going to be easy at Budapest, so they decided to cross it south of Budapest, which works, and another spearhead is made to connect the two sides. This time it works, finally connecting the sides, leaving the Balkans cut off. However, the Battle of Budapest still could very much be won. It still very much could be won. They also crossed the river up in the north, causing Budapest to be completely surrounded. This time, actually, tens of millions of troops, as if you combine Germany and the UK and Poland and all these countries' armies, tens of millions of troops are surrounded. Okay, maybe not, but lots of troops, once again, are surrounded, and lots more troops are surrounding them. From there, the troops flee into the city of Budapest, leaving effectively the city to be completely under siege. At least 1 million troops are in the city, which isn't big, but it's not that big. It basically doubles the population of the city with the amount of troops that are stuck in it, defending it. However, they're ordered to fiercely defend the city. I'm not quite sure if Budapest is a defendable city. I doubt it is. It's a very flat country, Hungary, so probably isn't defendable. And eventually, they close in on the city center, Danubian River, is crossed right near it until eventually the city falls, causing the country to fall and the Balkans to be cut off. And with that, the Battle of Budapest, probably the largest battle this series will have, was won. With it, the red team and blue team signed a temporary peace to basically cede the entire Balkans, as the red team having effectively just lost most of their army, has to sue for peace. Neither side, nothing in the peace treaty says you have to keep the peace though. But the entire Balkans were basically ceded, as that was the blue team's goal, and they succeeded that goal by actually getting, So that's where I'm gonna end this video. Next video will probably be the final one of the series.